It is 6 o'clock. I will call the October 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors to order. This evening, Mr. Hankins will provide the invocation. If you would, please stand and remain standing for the pledge.
Let us pray. Our loving and gracious Heavenly Father, we're grateful to come to you today as your servants, calling upon you as our master. We come to do your will, your bidding, and we pray that we will do it in a way that is pleasing to you. We pray, dear Lord, that as we consider these items of service tonight, we will keep in mind your eternal kingdom first, but taking care of your people here on earth. And we pray, dear Heavenly Father, that you'll guide us, provide us the wisdom that we need. Bless these supervisors who have stepped forward to lead this community. We pray that you will bless Wythe County, bless those who visit and who live here. We pray to your Heavenly Father that as we leave this place, you'll provide us with your health and safety. For it's in your name that we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on the agenda is citizens' time. As always, I'll call you up and you'll have 3 minutes. And the first person we have signed up is Mr. James Adams. Mr. Adams. And if I butcher your name, it's not your handwriting. I'm getting old and I can't see.
All right. Well, it's kind of short and sweet here. I've been a resident of Wythe County for the past 22 years in Crockett's Cove, raising beef cattle there. As I pass and see numerous cars and trucks every day driving into the cove to see of all God's creations, from the deer and bear to just leaves on the trees. I want to address the board with the concerns of ruining this beauty of Wythe County with the introduction of solar panels. As there is no zoning in place to stop this, and there needs to be something to stop. Wythe County promotes agritourism, but solar panels only benefit the power companies, which AEP had a $4.6 billion revenue in 2023. My concern is that this devalues my land, and no one wants to look at solar panels lining the landscape, such as the beautiful county of Wythe. Solar panels on agricultural land should not be going to land use. This is primarily used energy to sell, and if sheep are involved, that's a secondary thing. I don't know how you can do both. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, the next person we have signed up is Mr. Brent Cook.
I also live on Crockett's Cove Road, and it's been brought to our attention that some of the large landowners out there have been discussing a solar farm. And when I say large, I'm talking pretty close to 2,000 acres they're talking about, if they're all together. I did not buy my property 9 years ago to look at solar panels. And I do not understand why this county does not have a zoning set up. I moved here from North Carolina. Our counties all have zoning. It's to protect the farmers against commercial properties being next door and driving prices of your property through the ceiling. I think with solar, it should be a commercial piece of property, and these people should have to pay the max in taxes, not get their use under farm when it's no longer farm property. That is what I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. The next person we have signed up is Mr. Doug, is it Stein?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm also a resident of Crockett's Cove Road. We're newer residents to Wythe County, but I've been operating as a builder and developer in the state of Virginia for 45 years. I've done many projects in communities where we do have to comply with zoning laws. I would urge you to consider creating zoning laws for Wythe County. I think the impact of these solar farms will have a long-term negative impact on Wythe County. The environmental impact, the impact to livestock, the impact to the quality of life, people that live in Wythe County, and the long-term debris and recycling of any solar farms that become defunct. I think it would be a huge problem down the road for any community that approves solar farms. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Stein. All right, that's all we have signed up for citizens' time, so I'll close citizens' time. Mr. Baird, just for information's sake, have we received any information about any projects coming to Crockett's Cove area?
I am not aware of any definite project. Are you, Mr. Hankins?
I received one request, but did not get a specific area they want to go in, but it would not be this project because this project would be less than 30 acres.
All right, and I know Miss Lawson had contacted me earlier. She couldn't be here tonight, and I think off the top of my head, without looking for the map, I think she represents the entire section of Crockett's Cove Road. I will tell you that we've been in discussion, and Mr. Hankins, I'll put him on the spot because I enjoy doing that. But he's been working on a proposal of what I call zoning light. We don't want to tell you what color to paint your house, but to the gentleman that got up and spoke, in my mind, from this seat, you're absolutely right. And that's what, from this seat, I want to prevent. So keep reaching out to Miss Lawson. Mr. Terry's out of town. He's the at-large. Reach out to him. You've got 7 different personalities up here. Some of us are all for it. Some of us are kind of on the fence. And it's like I've said before in meetings, zoning or any type of land use guidance is only as good as the 7 people you've got sitting up here. And several years ago, when I first got on this board, and Mr. Baer probably remembers, I was 110% against any type of zoning, land use guidance, governmental control. I have changed. I have changed my opinion, and the reason I've changed is the very topic that you gentlemen got up and spoke about. So stay in contact with those 2 individuals, and we'll keep moving forward at the speed of government, which, if you're new to the speed of government, is very slow. But we're working on it. So thank y'all for coming out. The next item we have on the agenda is, and I'm sorry, did anybody else want to say anything? I didn't mean to go on a rant.
Yeah, no, I think you covered it all for us. I mean, as Brian said, when we first started talking about the zoning, I was totally against it, because I don't think you ought to be able to tell anybody what they can do on their properties. But then when you see what's trying to move into our area, and I think Mr. Adams, you had talked about AEP and their profits. You know, it's a hard pill to swallow, and you start seeing our landscape change like it is. So we definitely have to do something to eliminate this issue. So.
All right, the next item on our agenda is we've got a couple of public hearings. The first public hearing is for excuse me, bond issuance. And I'll read the public notice for the record. The Board of Supervisors of Wythe County, Virginia will hold a public hearing on the proposed issuance of a bond by Wythe County. The estimated maximum amount of the bonds proposed to be issued is $1,495,000. The proposed use of the bond proceeds is to pay cost of acquiring fire trucks for the county. The public hearing, which may be continued or adjourned, and at which persons may appear and present their views on the proposed bond issue, will be held at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard on October the 22nd, 2024, before the board in the boardroom of the County Administration Office located at 340 South 6th Street in Wytheville, Virginia. We did not have anybody to sign up to speak on the proposed bond issuance for the fire truck, so I will close that public hearing. Mr. Hankins, do you have anything to add to that?
No, sir. We've taken delivery of the 4 trucks, and this is going to refund that purchase, so would urge you to proceed.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the bond issuance in the amount advertised for the fire trucks. So moved. Have a motion by Mr. Cook, a second by Mr. Smith. Is there any questions or discussion on that motion? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett, we'll start with you. Aye.
Aye.
So approved. All right, our next public hearing is a enterprise zone boundary amendment. The Wythe County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing to consider amending the Wythe County enterprise zone boundaries. Public comment regarding the proposed amendment will be heard at this meeting. Public hearing will be held Tuesday, October the 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom of the Wythe County Office Building, 340 South 6th Street, Wytheville, Virginia. All persons who wish to comment may appear in person at the meeting or may submit comments via electronic mail to Ms. Martha Collins, County Clerk, or by mail at 340 South 6th Street, Wytheville, Virginia. Again, we didn't have anybody signed up to speak, so I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Barrett, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't know if Mr. Matthews wants to present, but he had a handout that he handed to you that shows the areas that are being added and the 3 areas that are being deleted. Staff's recommendation is that we approve these areas.
I'm sorry, Mr. Matthews. I seen you walk in. I didn't mean to skip over you. You have anything to add on that, sir?
Just that the properties that we're removing from the enterprise zone have received all the state awards they're eligible for, and the properties that we're adding in are adjacent to existing enterprise zone areas and will help continue development efforts.
Is the the 1.86 acres there on Lee Highway and North Main Retreat, is that the vacant building? Okay, I thought it was. I was trying to.
I think it's a combination of the old children's garden building vacant and the auto repair or shop that's behind it.
The
yes.
body shop. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment as presented.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Smith, a second by Mr. Cook. Or is there any discussion or questions on that motion?
Mr. Chairman, if I might, is there any action needs to be taken other than the board approving this or just
The resolution.
just the resolution? Okay. Yeah.
And I think the local insurance is listed for Steve.
So,
I guess if I'll just have clarification to approve the resolution and authorize county administrator. Yes,
Is
sir.
that- Mr. Cook, is that-
Yes.
All right. Is there any other discussion? All right. Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Morgan, we'll start with you. Aye. Aye. So approved. Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Right, we'll move on to payment of invoices. Each board member has received in their board package a copy of the invoices that need to be paid. I'll entertain a motion to approve those invoices. So moved. Have a motion by Mr. Burnett. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Morgan. Is there any questions, discussion, or any invoice that any board member wants to pull out? Right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. So approved. Moving on to the minutes of our previous meeting from October the 8th, 2024, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. So moved. Have a motion by Mr. Burnett. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second by Mr. Cook. Is there any corrections or additions to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Moving on to old business, we have our enhanced hazardous duty benefits resolution. Mr. Hankins, I believe it's you.
Yes, sir. We discussed this at our last meeting. This would offer the enhanced retirement benefit to our first responders covered under the hazardous duty side. We talked about the additional expense last month as well, but this is a key component of us attracting and retaining the best EMS employees that we can get for the county.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-26.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second by Mr. Burnett. Is there any questions or discussion on that resolution? Right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. So approved. Right, next we have a Hurricane Helene update. Mr. Bear.
Yeah, we're pleased to have with us today representatives from FEMA, and I don't know if most are going to speak or not, but we have Kathy Brocius and Marissa, and I'm sorry, Marissa, I don't remember your last name. Okay, I'm glad I didn't remember that last name. So, yes, come on up. And
I'm just glad you didn't sign up for Citizens Time because I'm just telling you now, I'd have butchered that one.
Yeah, my meeting was a little short than that, so.
And I will say, I told them at a meeting we had with 30 other FEMA people in the room, and I may be slightly exaggerating, but not by much. I was like, I might remember numbers, but I will not remember names. So they expect that from me. So
He will absolutely remember numbers. I can vouch for that.
But they've been working out. I'll just let them speak and go over, and then I think they'll be glad to take any questions that y'all might have.
So again, my name is Kathy Brocius, and I'm representing the Federal Emergency Management Agency for your county. I am your intercongressional specialist. So what I'm here to do is field any questions that you may have throughout your county that come to you. You can gladly contact me. Mr. Bear has been great keeping us, informed of anything that's happening. And I can go back to the subject matter experts and get you the answers to the questions that you need. And Marissa is the divisional supervisor that's assigned to your county.
Yeah, so kind of similar to what Kathy said, we're here if there's questions, we take them back and get the answers that you will need. The Disaster Recovery Center is opening tomorrow, and so that's a place where folks can go to register for individual assistance or any kind of funding through the federal government. So that's opening tomorrow.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Brocius?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I represent the Spiegel District. I forget, was that Dry Run? Is that the creek?
Dry Run, yeah.
Yeah. And I was just wondering, are we going to get the Corps of Engineers in there to, that thing washed out places. There were Gabion baskets in some places that washed out. And that thing, it washed all of that out of there, and there's actually the upper end is lower than the lower end right now. So that creek needs to be reworked. Is there any hope of that getting done?
You said that's called Dry Run.
Dry run, it goes right through Speedwell.
So we're working directly with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, and they are the ones that also work with USAID, the Corps of Engineers, so I can take that back and follow up.
And if I might jump in here and just, there are about, well, I don't know, 6 different things or agencies we're working with in the process. We have been contacted by the Natural Resource Conservation Services Emergency Watershed Protection Program. And they are the group that comes in and they will be looking at Dry Run and Cripple Creek and the New River to look at damages, what's been done, stream bank, things like that. That meeting is later this week to discuss that. But that meeting is set up. They're supposed to be coming in. We're going to go over all of those areas that we know are of concerns. Dry Run to me is probably the most critical area in downtown Speedwell because the creek bed is filled up with rocks to where it's no longer 10 feet deep. It's 2 or 3 feet deep, which is just going to lead to more problems in the future. But that meeting is upcoming this week, so we'll see what information they can provide to us as well. But we have been contacted by them.
Something we can attend?
If you'd like to attend, you can. And I'll get that information to you, the date and time.
And kind of following up on Mr. Morgan's question about the Speedwell area, after the storm, when I was riding around, like and I just never had this question before, but like there's all these large rocks that have ended up on people's property. And I'm like, if a tree falls on my farm, I've got a chainsaw. It might take me 2 or 3 days, but I can work it into manageable, size. Is there help for these people? I mean, because some of these rocks some of them are pretty good size if you don't have a tractor. I just never thought about it until I actually seen it. And I'm sure you've seen what I'm talking about. I mean, some of these people's property are just filled with these, and I would say several 100-pound rocks that come out of
Some of them bigger than that.
Yeah. I mean, is there some type of help for these people to get those removed?
So there are resources that we're collecting to get that information. This isn't the only county that has a lot of debris.
Yeah.
We've talked to Mr. Bear about that. And so we are gathering resources that we can share as far as
I mean, like, I was thinking, tree stumps, stuff like that, you can burn them, but the rocks just, that's a different problem. So,
How long are y'all planning on being open with your disaster relief?
the Disaster Recovery Center. It's open as long as people keep coming to register.
Okay.
So as long as we're still getting people to come in and register for assistance.
How are y'all getting the words out to the communities?
We relied on a public information officer with the county to get that information out. We also, FEMA did a press release today, so everybody knows that the FRC is opening tomorrow.
Very well. I would highly recommend reaching out to all the fire departments, rescue squads, and churches, because the churches will have fingers into the communities to get the word out.
and this is the Disaster Recovery Center that's operating out of the Heritage Preservation Center, which is here on
Spiller Street.
West Spiller Street, right? Okay.
Is there any way we could send out a notice on the water bill? I mean, the mayor sends out a letter every month on town water bill. Can we put something on the back of the water bill for people?
Yeah, it's a good point. We won't be sending out again till November 18th, but Allison has been doing a good job through all of our social media channels and also working with the radio station and other items to do so. But that's a good idea. If we still have centers open in November or anything like that, we could include that in a water bill.
All right. Does anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I got one question, Mr. Chairman. So just for clarification, there's a lot of information out there. FEMA's helping some families. They're getting their checks quick, and they're getting quite a bit of money, which is well deserved, right? Because they lost everything. And then we're hearing that some people lost everything. They're getting $750, and these families are telling us that they're having to pay that money back once everything's said and done. Is that true? Is that not true?
I have not heard that, and I can't speak to that. There is $750 that everybody can apply for. There is also a case-by-case basis too. So depending on what you lost, what you put in your application, how you answer the questions, then that affects what you're eligible for.
Yeah, because I know one family in particular they lost everything, and they got $750, but they were told that they would have to pay it back from someone from the FEMA organization. And I can say that that's not in Wythe County. It's one of the families that's on the Wythe Carroll line. Their residence is in Carroll County, but it ended up in Wythe County, I think. But that's what they were told, and it's, that spreads through the communities, and it's disheartening, especially when people's lost everything along the New River and it's the Speedwell area. So we, for us, we need to make sure that we're prepared to answer those questions when they're brought to us. So if you could get that for us, I'd appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, does anybody else have anything? Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
you. All right, move on to reports, and I don't see the treasurer, commissioner, and I know the sheriff wanted to go to his daughter's last volleyball game. So we'll move on to new business. We have a consent calendar each board member has received. Entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Morgan, second by Mr. Burnett. Is there any questions or discussion on that? I can't have the two quiet ones. I need a mix. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So approved. Have the Wythe County Extension Office update. I believe we have a gentleman here from the Extension Office.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Ethan Harrison. I'm the Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent for Virginia Cooperative Extension here in Wythe County. Just wanted to give a brief summary of the state of agriculture in the county. It's been a difficult growing season for all of our growers. We had a second driest on record June, first driest in the state of Virginia since they've been keeping those records. Then, of course, that was followed by Helene and the damage across the county. Our office is tasked with doing a damage assessment report, so as soon as we had the opportunity to get out following that disaster, we rode through the county, the agricultural areas, especially the hardest hit areas of the county, and came up with a damage estimate. Again, this estimate includes everything from gullying, erosion, crops lost. That could have been blown down. If they didn't have flooding in the county, we had a lot of corn silage still standing that was blown down and couldn't be harvested. Cabbage, broccoli, trout, soybeans, farm dwellings and structures. Of course, we had a lot of land damage, erosion, gullying, farm machinery and equipment. So my estimate was a little over $20 million across the county. So with that, a lot of our producers lost hay. A lot of it was either submerged in water, and a lot of times if that hay has over a foot of water on it, it's not suitable for livestock feed. And then, of course, a lot that actually went down the river. So our office has been working with other agents across the district to collect hay for our producers in need. And remember, I was talking about it being the first driest record, one of the first driest Junes on record in the state of Virginia. The outpouring of support from growers across the state is humbling. We've had tractor trailer loads of hay come to this area from other parts of the state. So Extension has been working with those growers and others to coordinate that hay relief effort. One of our collection sites is at G&G. And we're really appreciative to the Go Force for providing a site to unload hay and also a tractor to unload and load that hay back up. To date, Wythe County has received about 200 round bales of hay that have been donated, with more either on the way or promised. If producers, if you're out in the county and you have producers requesting hay or needing help, for hay relief, they need to contact the Cooperative Extension Office and talk to myself. And then for any other inquiries regarding fence, farm damages, we would refer them to the Farm Service Agency for any eligible programs they might have. Again, I appreciate the support of our generous donors, G&G Livestock, and other supporting agencies that are helping our producers in Wythe counties. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Would there be any way that we could get a list of the supporters from outside of it? I know you named some of the locals inside the county, but can we get a list of
Sure.
agencies from outside the county?
Yeah.
Mr. Byer, if we could get that and we could send that out and kind of recognize them throughout the county
Absolutely.
and maybe send something to them as appreciation.
And you were talking about, and I've seen on the news about the hay donations, not just in Virginia, but, North Carolina. But you touched on the silage laws. Is there any program or, is there anything for the silage for the farmers that lost that were dependent on that,
Right.
for the winter?
Yeah,
You hear a
that's-
lot about the hay, but you don't hear about the silage.
Exactly, that's a good question. So with silage, since it's because of the nature of silage and fermentation, it's not a very stable feed, so it can only be stored for, or if it's hauled after it's been siled, it's only good for a few days and depending on heat and whatnot. But some of those producers were reaching out to and say, hey, we know you lost 15 acres of corn silage you weren't able to harvest. Would some hay help in those situations? And they said, absolutely, yeah, we could.
They're just
make
gonna have to
those.
change their
Exactly,
feed. And,
yeah.
because I wondered about whether you could even transport it because of that. So
Yeah, there's some issues there with that. Would also like to mention that our 4-H agent position is currently open. They have received several applications for that position and hope to fill that in the near future.
all right. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for the update.
Appreciate it.
And while Mr. Henderson's here, I'll just mention, and in my report, I included a lot about the agriculture information. That's one of the reasons why I handed that out to you all, just because I know you all are getting some calls about it. But pretty much either their office or Farm Services Agency is handling all of the agricultural calls and concerns, from hay loss to fence loss to all of those items. Hannah Collins and Ethan are our main points of contact that we're referring them all to. The gentleman that could not be here today with Small Business Administration is also the point of contact that is working with them from the agribusiness side to help them with loans or whatever may be available on that side. So they came and met with us. I do not even know which day it was, within the last week or whatever. Appreciate their assistance in giving us guidance on where, as our staff was working our little FEMA office over here, where to send people. And so I know you all are probably getting a few of those calls. Just want to provide you all that information.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the Wythe County Health Department funding agreement. Mr. Baird.
Yeah, just ask for you all to authorize the county administrator to sign this agreement. It matches up to our our approved budget funds for this year.
All right. Entertain a motion to approve the agreement and authorize Mr. Baird to sign it. So moved. Have a motion by Mr. Burnett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Morgan. Is there any questions or discussion on that? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Aye. So approved. Move on to staff reports. We have Deputy County Administrator, Mr. Hankins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is going to be one of those rare instances where my report is longer than Mr. Bear's. So we got a little ways to go. First item I would ask for, The Buildings and Grounds Committee has considered and recommended that we pay $3,123, which is the net proceeds from the recycling of the bleachers, the old bleachers at the arena. That we repay that to the Southwest Virginia Horsemen's Association. Mr. Eric Crouchy has been our contact point there, and he has asked that we pay the funds to Appalachian Agricultural Exposition Center Show Number 1, which is 501c3. I do have their most recent 990 filing to the IRS for last year. I would request authorization to issue a manual check to pay that, subject to a response from Mr. Crouchy confirming the relationship between the Horsemen's Association and the Appalachian Agricultural Exposition Center charity.
All right, entertain a motion to authorize staff to issue a manual check in the amount of $3,123 to the associations listed.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Burnett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Morgan. Is there any questions or discussion on that motion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So approved.
Thank you. The second item I've got is a memorandum of agreement between the county and Hitachi Energy. We'd like to submit this to Hitachi Energy with the renaming of the Apex Center to the Hitachi Energy Center. That also means that you've got to change out the interstate signage. There are 4 interstate signs. As the owner of the property, we've requested that the state contractor directional signage give us pricing for updating those signs to reflect the Hitachi Energy branding. They have given us that pricing. We've shared it with Hitachi Energy. They've agreed to pay it. They would pay those funds to us, and we would pay it on to directional signage. Can't tell you exactly how much it is. It's a minimum of $18,000. It's maybe as much as $32,000 if they have to replace some posts. Would just ask that you authorize the county administrator or his designee to enter into the attached memorandum of agreement so we can memorialize those terms and process payments appropriately.
Right. So moved.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Cook, a second by Mr. Smith. Is there any questions or discussion? Just to be clear, there's no county funds involved in that. We're just acting as a pass-through.
We are acting as pass-through, yes, sir.
That's what I like to hear. Any more questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So approved.
Got a couple of informational items. The first is the Recreation Commission. I know some of you have asked about the Recreation Commission. We have met twice since July. We have not yet had a quorum, so we've not elected officers. We are going to reach out to some of the Recreation Commission members who have not attended a meeting just to see if they're interested in continuing their service. Their bylaws say that they can miss 3 meetings, but if you only schedule 4 meetings a year, missing 3 seems like a lot. So we'll come back to you with recommendations if those folks say that they don't have interest in continuing, or to ask you to select someone to take their place. I've told you in previous reports we've requested RFPs or interest from commercial realtors or developers about the lots that we own on Chapman Road adjacent to the arena. We did not receive any interest from realtors or developers, so staff is going to reach out directly to some that we think are capable of a lift that size and try to bring those back to you. Any questions about that? Would just mention we do, well, I've got a couple of other action items. I gave you some handouts. The first one is an arena repaving change order. The main parking lot outside the doors of the Hitachi Energy Arena, we've had the contractor working there on site now for a couple of weeks. They've done really good work so far. They've achieved the compaction that they're supposed to achieve, got the depth of the stone right. But yesterday, one of the tasks that they bid on is replacing the pavement there at the main entrance to the arena. When they milled down, as you might imagine, they didn't find much base underneath that. It was a pretty poorly constructed base. The asphalt was coming up in a lot of places, had pretty severe cracking, and so when they milled it, there just wasn't much left there. They got into dirt pretty quick in some of those spots, and they weren't milling all that deep. So I've got a couple of pictures in there to show you what they found underneath, and I have asked the engineer and the contractor for for a solution. The contractor suggests doing like we're doing with the rest of the parking lot, coming in with 6 inches of base stone, coming over top of that with a 3-inch base mix, and then a 1.5 inch topping on top of that. And the change order that they've submitted is for the amount of $110,140.50. The initial bid was $867,000, $867,440. So if you accept the change order, that will make the total contract price $977,580.50. That is still well below the budgeted amount. We had about $1.8 million scheduled for this project, so we're still going to be substantially below what we'd anticipated spending for the paving. The important thing is this will make it right. It'll make it functional. We won't have to touch this again for quite some time. We're going to try to slope the asphalt so that the drainage goes away from the building, that we don't have to rely on that drain that's in the parking in the drive aisle. So would just ask for your consideration and your approval of the change order.
I know it doesn't look like much, but are you going to have to take out to get that to drain, to get the depth that you want to get it to drain? You might take the rest of that out.
They're going to have to excavate some, and that's included in their pricing. They had $25,000 in the estimate for doing additional grading to get down to that depth. If they can get to that depth, they should be able to slope the pavement to where it'll positively drain toward the ditch instead of toward the building.
Did that pavement up front, did it meet the specifications of the original contract? Or did a contractor get over on us, so we might need to look at going back and have some action against them?
When they milled this up, it is not put into the specs that were supposed to be there.
So can we go back against the original contractor?
It would probably be difficult to do. We can look into it. But the county engineer that oversaw it at that time is no longer with us. But he, as I was telling Mr. Hankins, he was out there with the contractor staking the corners and the radiuses and everything to help him get the parking lot in. Why he does not have them having 4 or 6 inches of base material under it is unacceptable. I do not know why he did not have that done while he was out there, because he was highly involved with that project at that time. So
You just want me to say something, don't you?
no.
We do have a project inspector on site
Yeah.
checking the depths and the compaction. They've got a nuclear gauge out there checking to make sure that the pavement is compacted to the right depth and that the adequate base stone is in place before the pavement gets done. So that's an easy investment to make sure that it gets inspected and done right.
I'd definitely like to have us look into it. I mean,
Yeah.
It's county money, it's taxpayers' money. We need to be guardians of that money, and just paying somebody to do pardon my French, but a half-assed job is unacceptable.
Oh, don't disagree. And we can look into it, and I'll talk to the county attorney about it. I mean, it's been 7 years, but we'll see what they can do.
It is the holiday seasons are approaching. It reminds me of one of my favorite Christmas movies, and a line in that movie when they talk about the Jelly of the Month Club. This is a gift that keeps on giving every time we turn around.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Entertain a motion to approve the change order as presented by Mr. Hankins.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Burnett. I have a second.
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Smith. And is there any more questions and or discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
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 So approved.
Next up, we have a request from our grant writer, Ms. Williams. We've received an award letter from the Wythe Land Foundation. We submitted a request for funding. Our engineer estimated about $500,000 worth of work to resurface playing courts, the tennis courts and the basketball courts at the Apex, or excuse me, at the Ager Park, and also to improve the parking lot there at the courts. The foundation lays out its reasoning in the letter, but they approved either the lesser of $50,000 or 11% of what the county spends on it, but that would be if we completed all the work that's in the grant proposal. So we've got $100,000 in the budget this year. It's highly unlikely we could do this project for anywhere close to $100,000, it'd be more than that. So we've got a couple of options. Ms. Williams is continuing to apply for additional grant funding for this project and has what she thinks are some promising leads, and I know she's putting in good work on that. But we have to give the Wythe Land Foundation an answer fairly soon. And so in my view, you've got a couple of options. You can either accept the grant pending additional funding to give us time to work on finding some additional money for the project, whether from the grants or from county funds. That would let us bid out the work to get firm pricing so that we can get into the neighborhood of what it's actually going to cost us. If you don't want to do that, you can decline to accept the grant at this time. And I'll be glad to consider other options if you see them and I don't.
I make a motion to accept the offer and continue to look for grant funding.
Have a motion by Mr. Cook to accept the grant. Do I have a second? Going once. Going twice. Motion died for lack of a second. I assume that's declining to accept the grant, Mr. Hankins.
Thank you, Board. Next up, I have a request for a sole source determination. This is related to our public safety radios. We publicly procured the components and the installation of our new radio system. It's nearly complete. We procured the key components from Procom. They're a Kenwood dealer, and our equipment is Kenwood. Procom provides most of that equipment on state contract, so we don't have to worry about meeting procurement. But microwave antenna are not included in that. So we've been struck recently. We did have extra microwaves on hand in case something happened, and we had 5 destroyed by a lightning storm back in early September. We were able to use our spares. We were able to purchase additional replacements on an emergency basis. But in order to restock, it's nearly $10,000 to restock, so it's above our $5,000 procurement limit. In order to restock our reserve equipment and replace future major component failures without delay, I would ask that you find that Procom is the sole source provider for Kenwood products in this area and authorize staff to purchase directly from Procom without additional bidding or procurement.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the sole source request from Mr. Hankins.
So
Have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second by Mr. Burnett. Is there any questions or discussion on that motion? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett?
Aye.
Aye. So approved.
one additional item, Mr. Chairman. After considerable amount of bad news, I like to share good news, and
We've been waiting. Go ahead.
I was notified late last week. Our treasurer for the Regional Improvement Commission has made the first quarter deposit for the gaming tax. If that deposit holds true throughout the year, if we stay level, no additional improvement, we don't dip from that. This year we received about $713,000 to go toward public safety. It is likely that next year's amount would be north of $750,000, so a nice increase based on the gaming tax. There are a lot of variables in that, but one of the things that we have going for us is the Hard Rock Casino will open officially in November, so they'll be into their permanent facility, and it's likely that you'll see some uptick in the gaming activity there. While I personally would rather not see the gaming activity at all, if we're going to see it, it's nice that we can apply it back to public safety and fund a substantial portion of our EMS operations.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Hankins? All right, Mr. Bear, County Administrator's report.
Yeah, no action items. A lot of it we've already covered on the informational items. But the follow-up and everything from the storm has been consuming most of staff's time. We've already discussed several of the items. I will talk about public assistance, item E on my informational items there. There's a meeting that FEMA will have staff here later this week, but Wythe County, the Regional Water Authority, the JPSA, and Wytheville all have damage claims for public assistance, and they will be beginning the process of helping us with that. Wytheville is obviously looking at probably the largest cost for their public assistance. And right now, don't have any final numbers, but estimates that I've been hearing between the $10 and $15 million range for their facility. We are trying to go through ours. It's one of the things on the application is filling out what you are. We do think we will be below the million and some dollar threshold that they've got there, but we're trying to calculate everything and see what we've got on here. But have included, asked Zach to come and for what they've got at the New River Regional Water Authority meeting or facility, and then also ask Mr. Bowers to come because the JPSA is obviously doing all the debris removal. But early on in that process, and the ladies are from FEMA are here to correct me if I'm wrong, but the thing I'm stressing that we're reading from everything is documentation, documentation, documentation. They've got to see everything documented to make certain it meets their requirements in order to get reimbursed. So that's what we're pushing everything. Debris removal, Mr. Morgan, you were talking some about that. Still been discussed. The U.S. Corps of Engineers is scheduled to meet Thursday, I think, of this week, that they're coming in also to talk about that. The trees and debris are an item that we're trying to see if there's ways if we can get people to get it to the right of way that we can use them to assist with some cleanup of it. The rock and the mud is a whole other issue that's not stuff that's hauled off, that we're still trying to come up with solutions on that, or how we can help people between private organizations, church organizations, large scale organizations that can come and help that, and also maybe some local industries in the area that may have some equipment to help in some of those situations. Because the one gentleman's half-acre yard, it would take a loader and a dump truck to pick that up and haul it off. So don't know if that could be hauled off and put in a local quarries operation to salvage any river rock off of it or not, or what. But we're trying to look at all of those options. But I don't know if there's any more questions on Helene, but basically that's staff time is absorbed quite a bit with that, and it will be a long process of going through that. I do appreciate what Ms. Williams has done, and also Ms. Williams, Ms. Coble, Ms. Collins, and Ms. Stitt, or Esther. I'll go to her maiden name. They manned our facility over here at the FEMA Center for the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate what they did because they helped a lot of citizens. They also dealt with a lot of complaints because there were some things they could not help the citizens on the FEMA site. And I'm so glad they've got their center up and opening. But they did a great job, as Ms. Coble said today when she was sitting there talking about. She's like, I love doing it because I really felt like I was really helping the public in that time. So I appreciate everything that they have done on that. But unless you'll have anything else on Helene, I just wanted to highlight those items for you, and especially on the agricultural side, let you know what was being done there. As y'all continue getting calls, don't hesitate to give me a call, Matt a call, or Chuck a call. We'll put whatever resources we can to helping the citizens. Next item is just informational. The New River Regional Water Authority has started their expansion over there. And then also Mountain Community Action Program. I have been advised that they are planning to merge their services with Open Door. One of the primary services that they provide is weatherization. One of the goals that I was talking with Cameron Burton at Bland County about is the hopes of relocating centrally, that there will be more work done in all three counties. A lot of the weatherization was done in counties, but a lot of it seemed to center around the Smith County area because that's where they were focused out of. So they're still having to go through some things on their transition and how the board and all will be set up. We'll let you know as more information comes on that. But years ago, Mountain Cap lost the Head Start program in Wythe County, and it's currently run, by an agency out of I can't remember which county it is right now. It's a far southwestern county that's running it, and I don't remember through there. But don't know if that's something that they may have an interest in trying to get back to, where it's a local agency running a local Head Start, or could apply for that funding, for the federal funding. So we'll see what happens there. And then lastly, the Governor's Summit on Rural Prosperity is next week, 29th and 30th. I think because of all the storms, they've lost some of their attendees. I sent an email to you all today. If anybody is interested in attending, get in touch with me immediately, and I'll see if I can get you all some passes to attend that. But other than that, that's all the items I've got, unless there's anything from you all.
All right, somebody have any questions for Mr. Barrett? All right, we'll move on to board member time. Mr. Burnett, we'll start with you.
I don't really have anything at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Cook. Just wondering, do we have a time period when we might be able to get a report on the zoning?
The storm has slowed me up a little bit. I'm closing in on 40 pages now. We are making progress, though. I've got a chart of uses. Be glad to let you see that if you want to drop by the office, just to get some idea of where we're going. It's really just putting the finishing touches on it now, though. We're making progress. I'd like to have it to you in December.
Okay. That's all I got. All right, Mr. Smith.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I got a couple things. Mr. Byer, I know that we had talked about the children at play, and I know me and Mr. Chairman had spoke about that earlier. I have had some people from Doe Run reach out again about the situation down there since we've paved that road, and there was asking, they're requesting children at play sign for that one residence down there.
We have one set that has come in. The second set has not come in. Is there a preference on which one we start with?
I would say, since the camping season's over, to go ahead and use that set, the set we have on Doe Run.
I will.
You
Mr. Sayers contacted me and let me know. Of course, as you're aware, the last few weeks they've been running centers and all that stuff. But he has that. We will contact VDOT. We have to get a permit from them to do that, but we will go ahead and do that. If you can give us some guidance of where you recommend it to go, whether marking up a GIS map, or if you want to meet me, and I'll be glad to go down there with you, make certain we're hitting where we think it needs to be, and then we'll see where VDOT tells us we're allowed to go in there.
Yep, I think you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So I know they had reached out to the chairman as well. So. Second thing I got, this was kind of a new one for me. I know, we get a lot of requests for VDOT, but this request right here is not a bad request, I don't think. I know in Pulaski County, if you cross the center line in certain areas, there's like rumble strips in the middle. So the question was asked is why Wythe County doesn't have rumble strips in the high traffic areas on 52, 94, 21 South, areas like that. You know, if somebody crosses the center line, that it'll make you come back.
Cause they put them all in my district.
No. No, there is some in your
So,
district. That's right.
There's a lot in my district. Come visit.
So,
They
that was
used
the
all of
question.
them up.
Yep, so that was the question. They did mention that, but if we could get those, look at possibly getting that throughout the county, I think some of the citizens would enjoy that or appreciate it anyway.
I'm grinning because the places where it's gone in, we've got a few complaints. And
They are absolutely very effective at getting your attention.
yes, they are.
But when you're pulling a trailer down Blacklick,
Yeah,
I don't care how good a driver you are.
Right.
Some of them curves you gonna hit 'em. And that's the biggest complaint I've got. But yeah,
But and I laugh because there's in Smith County, it's not our county, in Smith County, before you get to the gas station Mexican, whatever the name of it is, there's a row of houses about a mile before you get there. And somebody had spray painted something all alongside the road, the middle of the road there. And I kept wondering what it was. When my wife got stuck behind an accident one day, so she got over to the side and rolled down the window. And it was somebody, I don't know if it's somebody that lives there or not, but was blasting VDOT for placing these stupid blankety-blank things in the middle of the road.
I know exactly where you're talking about, and I've slowed down. I never could figure out what it said.
It's complaining about the rumble strips.
Okay.
But they are very effective, and I have noticed, and I don't know if it's a process of putting them on certain roads, but there are some other roads that it can certainly be beneficial, and I'll check with them on that and see.
all right, thanks, sir. And then the last thing I got, I don't know if Mr. Vernon has, or Mr. Morgan has been reached out to, or any other board member, but they're having a benefit for Kathy and her Claire over in Ivanhoe, is one of the families that lost everything. It's this Saturday, the 26th, at the Ivanhoe Oddfellows Lodge. So if you can make it, feel free to stop by. I'm sure they would appreciate it. That's all I've got.
Some time.
Probably 11 o'clock. That's what
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Morgan?
The only thing I had was asking about the zoning ordinance, so that's already been taken care of, so that's all I had.
I just have a couple of things. Mr. Bear, and I didn't write down the address or fast enough before I got to talk about something else on the phone, so I can't remember. But we've had another Amish family move in on Cedar Springs Road.
Okay.
And it's actually physically, I think it's actually in Mr. Morgan's district, but it's part of that Speedwell district that I've adopted because it's closer to my house than it is anybody. But I've had people contact me, and because of the horse and buggy on Cedar Springs, and was wanting to see if we could get some more of the signs from VDOT. I'll get you the address. I can't remember it off the top of my head. And you touched on this a while ago. I wasn't at the last meeting because I haven't had a really good October. We had the flood, and then my sister unexpectedly passed away, and I appreciate everybody that's reached out and checked on me and gave me their prayers. But I just wanted to comment on what you said about our county staff and what they done during the hurricane. I know we've got Chuck back there, our emergency services, emergency management. You know, I was scared to death because, you know, I said this is the first big thing that Wythe County's had since the county took it over, and Chuck and his folks knocked it out of the ballpark. I mean, the number of calls that were coming in the dispatch center was just, you know, ungodly. Matt, you know, you and Matt was there, buildings and grounds, you know, like you said, Martha, everybody, just really done a good job. I know Gus is back there. Speed will handed out supplies multiple days, opened the firehouse. I know Ivanhoe done. You know, I just want to say thank you for what everybody done for the citizens. I think it really showed what living in Southwest Virginia was about. So, but kudos to everybody that was involved in that. And I know y'all touched on that on the last meeting. Like I said, I wasn't here because of my sister, but I felt like I'd be doing everybody a disservice if I didn't give my 2 cents, because y'all know I like to do that. So, now, with that being said, anything else to come before the board, Mr. Barrett?
No, sir.
Mr. Hankins, and if it costs money, be quiet.
I'm afraid so.
Oh,
I did leave one action item out. The Ivanhoe Fire Department has experienced a problem with a broken sewer pipe under their building going out to their septic tank. Mr. Sayers in our Buildings and Grounds Department has been getting quotes on being able to fix that. It does involve cutting through concrete, digging down about 3 feet. They've been able to run a jetter in, and it actually stuck the head of the jetter. So they haven't been able to jet out the problem. It appears to be broken pipe, but until they get down in there and fix it, they just don't know. The bad part is it's also under a wall, it's under a sink. There's several things that have to be done to repair that. Worst case scenario is a $17,000 estimate. Would ask for the board's authorization to make that repair up to $17,000, subject to Mr. Sayers getting additional quotes to do that work.
all right. I entertain a motion authorized to repair up to $17,000. Have a motion by Mr. Burnett. Have a second by Mr. Morgan. Is there any questions or discussion on that motion?
We can't put that off till next month.
Actually, our FEMA folks have been working there in the Ivanhoe building, and we did have to bring in Porta-Johns to meet the needs there. We'd like to get that fixed as soon as possible, but we're going to have some discussions with our fire departments about some of the events, because it seems like this sort of thing happens after large events at the department. So we just want to make sure that we're getting our capacities right when we're bringing crowds of folks in.
All right.
And we do have funds available in the capital budget to pay for this.
Any other questions or discussion?
My only question would be, are you certain 17 is enough to cover it? If it's not,
17,000 is we've got an estimate in hand for the 17,000, so that's why I say it's the worst case. He is trying to get additional contractors, but there aren't many interested in that work.
I just don't want to hold up because we get something for $17.50 and have to wait till the next meeting. So that's
I got faith in Mr. Hankins. If it's $50, I got faith that he can negotiate that down. He'll do 50. You try to do 5,000. That's the difference.
I will turn the remainder over to Chief Price and let him pay it.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett.
Aye.
Aye. So approved. Nothing else from Mr. Hankins. I'm not calling on him again, Miss Martha. You have anything? All right, we'll be adjourned.